In the ground, RE's next door, Locksley and Mojave bringing you more. America needs supply, yo, the time is now, mind the market, LKY show you how. Mojave corridor, rapping with the beat right next to MP. America needs supply, don't front, don't wait, Locksley's got the key, trying to feed the whole state, we got what's underneath. Got antimony and we be carrying the heat, we got what's best for the future and stacked with Reese, how we always playing it clean, rice on the tech, new process, brand new, something that has never been done or seen. Yo, government, where you at? Time to step in line. You want sovereignty? Well, this is the sign to step aside. Well, we work hard under this heat. We keep it on shore. Locksley got the medals, and we bringing you more. We got the lock and key. Because we're Locksley.
Okay. Clearly, the shareholders are having a very good time with LKYRF, and we're about to find out why. So buckle up, we're about to get into it. I hope you guys are having a phenomenal day. Happy Tuesday to you. We have an awesome guest today from LKYRF, Locksley Resources Limited. We have the head of critical minerals, Mr. Allister Caird. All right. And before we get into it with him, I think we got to educate ourselves a little bit on what's going on with the stock. And so I want to play something for you guys. And hey, this is for you. So make sure you guys put your questions and comments in the chat. First, hand due diligence, DD from the source. That's what we do here at the BFC. And we're going to keep on going. 2025 has been awesome. It's been a great market, and we've been having a good time. So sit back, relax, and educate yourself a little bit.
Located in San Bernardino County, California, Locksley's Mojave project sits in one of the most strategic critical minerals corridors in the US, directly adjacent to Mountain Pass, the only operating rare earth mine in the country, backed by both the US Department of Defense and Apple. Locksley's Mojave project spans two high-value prospects, the El Campo rare earth prospect and the historic Desert Antimony mine, both of which are right next door to MP Materials' Mountain Pass mine. El Campo and the Desert Antimony mine are now permitted for drilling and ready to advance. At El Campo, surface sampling returned outstanding grades of up to 12.1% total rare earth oxides, including NdPr of up to 3.19%. The mineralized system extends for over 860 metres and will be drilled in the coming months. Notably, El Campo is directly along strike from MP Materials' Mountain Pass mine and shares many geologic similarities. Rare earths, and in particular neodymium and praseodymium, are essential elements in the production of permanent magnets, making them invaluable in EVs, wind turbines, defense systems, and consumer electronics. The Desert Antimony mine, produced in the 1920s and 30s via shallow workings ematites, with surface samples retaining grades of up to 46% antimony, the Desert Antimony mine provides a compelling target for drilling. A recent field program revealed 3 mapped stibnite veins within a broader zone of mineralization, now integrated into a geological model to guide drilling. The expanded drilling program at Mojave is to define the lateral extension of antimony mineralization more regionally across the Desert Antimony area. Antimony, whilst not currently produced in the US, is a critical mineral that is heavily sought after in defense, industrial, and semiconductor applications. With permits secured and full funding advice, Locksley is set to lodge its Aden Mojave drilling campaign. An additional plan of operations has also been submitted to expand exploration across the desert antimony line, targeting further high-grade skidnite mineralisation identified from recent field reconnaissance. Both rare earths and antimony are overwhelmingly sourced from China, triggering a swift reaction from US defence, tech, and clean energy sectors. The US has now made securing domestic critical minerals a national priority, unlocking a wave of strategic funding and support. Drilling at El Campo and the Desert Antimony Mine represents the first step toward unlocking Mojave's true potential, targeting rare earth and antimony discoveries that can fuel America's clean energy and defence future. Locksley is proud to lead that charge and deliver real value for shareholders.
Mr. Allister Caird, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks, Eric. And yourself?
I'm doing great. And you know what? I'm learning many new words ever since I started this podcast. Mining stocks are going crazy, yours being one of them. And guys, I just want to say, this is proof. Allister is living proof that all geologists, like I've always said, have beards. And what a fine beard it is. Welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
There's so much to talk about. Guys, make sure you put your questions in the chat if you have any questions. All right. Locksley now controls 491 claims in the Mojave corridor, directly adjoining MP Materials land. How does this positioning enhance your ability to capitalize on U.S. government-backed critical minerals initiatives, particularly with DOE and DOD grants for rare earth element independence?
Yeah, it's a good question, Eric. So the Mojave Critical Minerals Corridor, where our project is, our Mojave project, as well as MP Materials, is gathering quite a lot of momentum at the moment, owing to a range of factors. The first being Chinese trade tensions, the DOD and Apple's recent investment into MP Materials for rare earth supply, or whether it's the exposure given to Dateline Resources Coliseum mine by President Trump. It's pretty clear that this location is squarely in the focus of policymakers in the US and departments like the Department of Defense and the Department of Energy. And I guess as far as Locksley Resources goes, given our growing footprint in the corridor and the near-term drilling, as well as the recently executed downstream collaboration with Rice University, us as a company is very well capitalized, very well positioned to capitalize on the government initiatives that are available to us.
Right on. And guys, like he was talking about, the U.S. imports 100% of its antimony. 100%. Absolutely remarkable. And so, I mean, you want to talk about a niche position that you're in right now? I mean, we're not hearing this from anybody else. So your new claims cover NYSEC, and I think I'm saying that properly, NYSEC geology, similar to Mountain Pass. Can you elaborate on the structural and geophysical indicators that suggest rare earth element bearing carbonatites? I think that's right too. Could they be present?
Correct. Yeah. So the NYSEC geology is a metamorphic type of geology. That is the country rock or the host rock. And the carbonatites intrude up through this NYSEC geology, and that's where you get your mineralization of your antimony, your rare earths, or other polymetallic minerals and metals. So from what we've seen in the geophysics imagery that we have, so airborne and gravity, we have deducted that there are quite significant structural features, particularly on the magnetic imagery. And these structural features are basically pathways for these carbonatites to intrude up into the host rock, into the NYSEC geology. So we're at the point now where we've done our surface sampling. We've done the MET test work, or the initial MET test work on those surface samples. We've got some grades back, and it's time to drill.
Right on. And I want to go back and talk about, the fact that we're importing, all this stuff, and, we produce none here. So, despite, it's very important for defense, semiconductors, and EV batteries, but how quickly do you think Locksley could bring its desert antimony mine prospect back into production to fill the strategic gap?
Yeah, we can do it very quickly. Our priority at the moment, the Mojave project, is to conduct the early phase exploration, and that's necessary to get your initial mineral resource estimate. And from there, you sort of move to your JORC resource, which is an extra level of credibility. Basically, we need to establish that the resource is in the ground. From there, it comes down largely to a funding question. And there's no shortage of funding grants and mechanisms in the United States to assist in this process. So the speed at which we're able to get to production and start producing rare earths or antimony will largely be dependent on the rate at which we can gain access to these funding initiatives in the States. But as I'm sure you can see from the activity of the company in recent months, we're not afraid to do the hard work, and we're really keen to run at this as hard as we can. So we're really trying to solve this supply chain gap, and we'll do it as quickly as possible.
Absolutely amazing. Unboxing Bastard says, fantastic day for this ticker, 30% gains. Yeah, you guys have been on the move lately, so congratulations on that. We're seeing a lot of positive response from the market, and it sounds like there's a lot more to come. So you have several new claims border MP materials, Mountain Pass claim package, right? So could this proximity enable future joint exploration or processing partnerships, perhaps? That would be juicy, huh?
That would be, yeah. I mean, thanks to MP Materials, we do have a lot of eyes on us at the moment. Locksley Resources and MP Materials have very different profiles and business models. Of course, with MP Materials being a very well-established miner, and Locksley Resources being an antimony and rare earth explorer, albeit with downstream ambitions also. So I would say it's extremely unlikely there'll be any collaboration during the exploration phase. This is the phase where our investors stand to make the most gains, and it's the cheapest phase for companies like ourselves. So it makes sense for us to use our funds, which we have, to fund this exploration ourselves. But when you get to the processing or the downstream processing of the resources, that's a point where it would make a lot of sense to partner with someone like MP Materials, and they do have some of the facilities in country to process rare earths. So it's certainly something that we would look at if it makes sense for our shareholders.
So when MP is next door and they're like, "Hey, what you digging over there?" You're like, "Nothing to see here, just hanging out."
Yeah,
just hanging out
well,
in the backyard.
Yeah, you know, it's probably better if they do know what we're digging, to be honest.
Wow. Yeah, your north block sits only 3 kilometers from Dateline Resources Coliseum Gold Project. So there's another connection there. How significant is the polymetallic and precious metals potential in diversifying your commodity pipeline?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So I'll just make a note actually on that video. It just goes to speak at how quickly things are moving. On that video, the claim package that we've shown there has expanded as of earlier this week, I believe. And so some of your investors might not be familiar with the claim that you're referencing, but the north, we do have a very northern block that is north of Dateline's Coliseum mine or project. So that area is of particular interest to us. The United States Geological Survey has done surface sampling in and around that area, and they have noted that there are indicators of polymetallic potential there, so gold, silver, lead, zinc, and copper. So we stake these claims rather, using this data, and our initial intention there is to get on the ground, do some initial grab samples, and see what we have there, as well as obviously review the airborne geophysical data that's available. So there's a lot of stuff happening at the moment, but our focus is really on this critical mineral potential and the upcoming drilling campaign that we have at Mojave project.
No, I could see why, because if you could put a dent in that 100%, you're already going to be a winner. And so that's, I'm just looking at things mathematically. And, if you guys are the first to put a dent in that and be like, yeah, this is what we're going to focus on, you're literally going to cut into that 100%, probably maybe significantly, so.
Yeah, I think we'll probably get into this further into this interview, but it's probably a good time to just to mention that that when you're talking about the 100%, that's 100% of sourcing. All of that material is coming from China, but it's not just the in-ground material that's coming from China. It's also the processed material. So even if we were to start producing at the Mojave project early next year, mid next year, end of next year, we would still have to, traditionally speaking, we would still have to ship that ore offshore to be processed and then bring it back into the country that way. So it's still quite a costly and laborious process, and there's no security in that supply chain, particularly with all of this coming out of China. So I guess that's the rationale behind our partnering with Rice to develop in-country, clean and efficient processing capabilities for recovery of antimony.
Right on, right on. Thank you for talking about that a little bit, and that's why I had to ask. So, Locksley is collaborating with Rice University on DeepSolve, a solvometallurgical process for antimony. How does this technology differentiate from traditional smelting, and could it scale to broader rare earth or polymetallic processing?
Yeah, so it was, I guess, a timely jump in there by me. But yeah, so I just spoke a little bit about the processing capability. We've termed this technology DeepSolve. And so DeepSolve is, as I sort of alluded to, categorically different to traditional pyrometallurgy or smelting. So this process is entirely done offshore for antimony anyway. It's a large-scale operation which requires a tremendous amount of energy in heat, whereby you heat the ore to physically recover the resource, in this case, antimony. So in doing so, there's large amounts of pollutants, such as sulfur dioxide, that are released into the atmosphere. And these can be incredibly environmentally damaging, as I'm sure you can imagine. Sulfur dioxide can lead to things like acid rain. So it's something that, historically has made sense to offshore. But, with these rising trade tensions and really trying to, with the question of national security in mind, there is a really strong push by the US government to onshore these and onshore this process. And that's why we've sort of jumped in very early on in the piece, had this collaboration with Rice, and we're really trying to march forward at a rate to develop this DeepSolve technology. So by contrast, DeepSolve is it's low energy. It's instead of physically recovering the antimony, you are chemically recovering it. So to do this, we use what they call a DES, or a deep eutectic solvent. That is a green solvent used to chemically recover this antimony. It's low energy. It's highly selective, so you don't lose a lot of the antimony to the slag as a byproduct, and it is highly tunable. And this is really critical for us, and sort of marching towards this processing capacity in antimony from a commercialization standpoint. So by highly tunable, I mean that we're developing this technology to work for a range of different ores. So our goal here is to not only develop a method to process our own antimony resource at Mojave project, but also to have the ability to commercialize this and sell to other industry peers. So it's a much larger sort of value consideration for our investors.
Excellent. That's excellent. I want to go back to what you said a little bit. We are there is a trade war going on right now. We're trying to balance basically these tariffs. We're trying to, I guess you could say, so if depending on what side of the aisle, and get your fair share. And so, it's taken a hit, especially in regards to minerals and mining. And, we have a rise of US and Chinese tension. So how do you see Locksley aligning with US defense and clean energy funding programs? And I believe that it was the Inflation Reduction Act that was passed, it allocated like $369 billion to clean energy and supply chain resilience. So do you see yourself capturing that? Do you see yourself aligning strategically with the U.S. defense and clean energy programs?
Yeah, of course. So one thing I'll just mention is it's not necessarily just an increase in tariffs. So as far as antimony is concerned, it's been a complete ban out of China, which are the global leader in antimony supply, both from, as I mentioned, an in-ground resource and processing capacity. So it isn't just a case of tariffs. This has been the tap's been closed here, and the US needs to find an alternative source of antimony and rare earths for that instance. So I guess coming back to Locksley and sort of how we align with this thematic, we consider ourselves a major contributor in solving this critical minerals supply chain gap within the states. As I mentioned, both across the upstream and downstream sectors. And so as a consequence of this, we are very well positioned to make the most of these existing and upcoming funding initiatives within the US. With respect to the DoD Title III, so the DPA Title III that you mentioned, we are actively progressing that. As well as the Department of Energy Critical Minerals Institute as well. So amongst others, as you mentioned, there are a lot of grants out there, not just for the supply of the resource in ground, but also for the development of technology to try and close the gap on the downstream side. So we are doing as much as we can. We have a broad range a broad team of advisors, and we're all working, in close collaboration to run at all of these different initiatives at the same time. So, I'd say watch this space.
Yeah, and I have to follow up because I'm thinking of what you just said. So they're capped off. We're not getting any more. So I don't know if you know this or not. Is there a strategic reserve of it where we have like a year supply, or like do we have any reserves whatsoever? Is it urgent where they have to get this now and they need you guys and others like you to get this thing done? I just had to ask that.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I'm not sure of the quantum of the stockpile that the US has in hand. I doubt whether they would ever make that public. But there are a few other sources in Europe where antimony can be supplied from. They are small sources, but ultimately the reason that these executive orders are coming out to fast track the supply and not just the supply but the mining of these projects. That is the entire reason. This is a problem now, and we need a solution yesterday. So I mean, that's really where Locksley fits into this picture. We're going to develop this resource as quickly as possible and try and close the supply chain gap that is wide open at the moment.
Awesome. Exploration, all phases of it. It's
exactly.
capital. Yeah, it's capital intensive. It's huge. It costs a lot of money. It takes a lot of energy, resources. With 491 claims now under your control, how will Locksley prioritize targets? Whether antimony, rare earth, polymetallics for the near term. What's the main focus there?
Yeah, so our focus right now is, as I mentioned before, entirely on the critical mineral potential at our Mojave project, and that is not the only potential there, obviously, particularly with the recently added new claims that we have. So when I say the critical mineral potential, I mean antimony and rare earth elements. So as you see in that very early image or the video, we have our major land holding is just to the east of or directly abuts MP Materials Mountain Pass claims and mine. And then we also have an El Campo prospect, which actually sits within or is enveloped or enveloped, depending on how you'd like to say it, by the MP Materials claim. So that is specifically for rare earth elements down to the south there. But there is rare earth potential in the North Block as well as the recently acquired claims there. So our focus, going back to your question, our focus really is on the critical mineral potential, antimony and rare earths, but we will be doing grab samples. We will be in the field. We've had a geological team in the field now for a number of rounds of field reconnaissance, and we will be trying to understand the polymetallic potential there, and then we'll make a consideration onto whether these are economic assets to pursue or not.
You mentioned earlier, when we dig, when we excavate, when we get these minerals, you still got to ship them off to process them and stuff. So, you got to think about that. Like we could do it here, but where's the processing getting done? And the U.S. currently sends 90% of rare earths mined to China for processing, which sort of seems crazy to do with your competitor. Like, Caird, could you take care of this for me? Could you guys address that? And what's your deal? What's your plan to, like, I don't know, put a dent in that, like beyond exploration? Like, what are the steps being taken to secure downstream processing partners in the U.S.?
Yeah, so our we term it mine to market strategy. It's a very easy way to conceptualize what we're trying to achieve here. Is initially focused on antimony, as we've spoken about, but during our extensive review of the technology landscape with respect to processing capability across antimony and rare earths, we noted that there's a lot of activity in the rare earth space as well. We felt we could be a quicker mover in the antimony processing space, and that's why we sort of went down that route. So we're confident that there is a domestic path forward for processing rare earths within the US, be it via a collaboration with MP Materials, which you sort of alluded to a little bit before, another third-party processor, or whether that's, as you sort of mentioned in this question, licensing or co-developing a new novel method for rare earth processing. But certainly we consider the full life cycle of the resource here and make decisions accordingly.
Right on. Companies with rare earth exposure have seen a market cap of multiples expand 3 to 5x, when they're tied to U.S. government initiatives. We've been seeing that with a lot of mining plays, including you guys. Like, the surge is going up. People sense what's coming. With shares trading under, LKY, on the Australian share exchange, and the OTCQB as LKYRF, how does Locksley plan to leverage U.S. investor interest in critical minerals to support financing and valuation growth?
Sure. Yeah, so we're fully funded for the initial RICE collaboration program, which I've mentioned, as well as the upcoming drilling campaign that we have at our Mojave project, and that should be kicking off within the next month. So as far as our balance sheet goes, we're very strong at the moment. We do have a lot of activity across the public markets. As you mentioned, we're an ASX listed company, Australian Stock Exchange listed. We added our OTC listing earlier this year, and we also more recently added a Frankfurt Stock Exchange listing. So all of those together now are really starting to build momentum, and that's, I think, we are making a lot of noise, obviously, in the space with a lot of activity. But I think our investors are also becoming wiser to the problem at hand here and just how critical it is to solve in the near term. So I think people, I think they can see the intent, they can see the potential, and I think that is really pushing the stock along. We do have a very good team of advisors. We recently added Tribeca Capital to our advisor list, as well as Varietas, and then more recently a company out of Washington called GreenMet. So GreenMet is where all of these groups together are really assisting with our corporate strategy, as well as our investor growth within the US, and helping with connecting us to the right people to address have a look at these funding initiatives and see which one is the best fit for us and the best fit for the US government.
And I heard, and this is the breaking news, Allister is going to be rapping in the next video that Cheryl, is that right?
Well, I mean, with AI, anything is possible, isn't it? So
anything, right?
Our investors are incredibly creative. So, yeah, I mean, what an intro.
You know, I've interviewed dozens and dozens of CEOs and people, a part of the stock world. And I got to say, when you have an enthusiastic shareholder base, it makes it freaking enjoyable and trading fun.
It's fun.
It's nice to get out there, especially when you have people sharing content and even like mining stocks going tit for tat, which was what was happening earlier. It was funny to see. And so, when you have a vocal a shareholder base that's willing to go out there and support you, that says a lot about what you guys are doing, and it says a lot about them too. So I want to give you the final word. Any message to shareholders or potential shareholders? Any message to them?
Yeah, I would say watch this space closely. There are obviously a lot of things going on in the company at the moment. Every other week, or actually every week at this stage anyway, it seems like there's some major breaking news there, which resonates really well with the market, whether that's a public market listing, whether that is, a technology collaboration or an update on a technology collaboration, whether it's a drilling contractor being appointed or, drilling kicking off. There's a lot of catalysts coming up. And I guess another one that I didn't mention was we just last week signed an MOU for an offtake agreement for another source of antimony, and that's directly going to assist with our deep solve technology. So as you can see, there's a lot of value catalysts across the board here, and I'm excited for the company and our investors moving forward. So it's a good journey at the moment. I'm really enjoying it.
Wow. And you can't share yet the area that this is going to be in yet, or no?
Unfortunately, no. I can't.
Oh man. Hey, I had to ask. I had to try. Mr. Allister Caird, I want to thank you for taking the time to coming on the BFC and talking with shareholders and explaining what you guys do. Definitely learned a lot. You guys are going to continue to be on our radar. And congratulations with all the success you guys are having. I think you guys are niche, and I think you're right in the right spot at the right time, and you're going to capitalize on this. So congratulations.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All right, guys, that's all we got. Allister and I are out. Make sure you follow their content, follow them on the X, and hey, share this video because this was very, very informative. Tons of due diligence here, and that's all we got. And remember, there's more that binds us than breaks us, guys. Peace out.
See you later.